The last time Real Madrid lifted a major trophy, the world barely noticed. Not because the football world had stopped caring about Real Madrid. It never does. But because the win felt routine, expected, like gravity. You do not celebrate gravity. You simply accept it. For decades, Real Madrid winning things was not news. It was the natural order. And then the natural order broke. 2 full seasons, 730 days. Not one single major trophy carried up those famous steps at the Santiago Bernabéu. For any other club on earth, that is an acceptable period of transition. For Real Madrid, the most successful club in the history of football, the club built on the idea that winning is not optional but obligatory. 2 years without silverware is not a rough patch. It is a crisis. It is a wound. It is the kind of prolonged pain that forces a president to make uncomfortable decisions. And then came the moment that made the crisis impossible to ignore any longer. El Clásico, the match that defines careers, that destroys legacies, that draws the line between acceptable and unacceptable at the biggest club in the world. Barcelona needed a win to clinch La Liga, and they won 2-0. They celebrated on the pitch. They lifted the title that belongs in the cabinet at the Bernabéu. The dressing room was silent. The stands were empty long before the final whistle. And somewhere in the stands, Florentino Perez, the man who has run this club with an iron fist across 3 separate presidential terms, made a decision. Enough. This ends now. And I know exactly who ends it. The name had been circling for months, whispered in the corridors of Spanish football, debated on television programs, denied publicly, repeatedly, almost aggressively by the man himself. When journalists asked José Mourinho whether he was heading back to Real Madrid, he waved the question away. He called it a soap opera. He said he did not watch soap operas. He went back to managing Benfica, guiding them through the Primera Liga, keeping his head down and his results sharp. He was the picture of a man with no interest in the noise surrounding him. But in football, especially when Florentino Perez is involved, denials are often just delays. Perez ran for re-election as club president on June 7, 2026, with a very specific promise attached to his campaign. He did not just promise to fix the squad. He did not just promise more investment. He promised José Mourinho. He stood in front of the Real Madrid membership and said, "If you re-elect me, I will bring back the man who won us La Liga with a record that has never been broken." The membership voted. On Thursday, June 11, 2026, the board of directors of Real Madrid confirmed the appointment of José Mourinho as head coach on a 3-year contract running until June 30th, 2029. The bargain of the decade. The special one was back at the Bernabéu 13 years after he left. And the football world, every manager, every player, every club watching from a distance, sat up a little straighter in their chair. Welcome to Football Detailing, and let's get started. Before José Mourinho signed a single player, before he spent a single euro of transfer budget, before he held a single training session at Valdebebas, he walked through the Bernabéu and made a list. Not a list of who he wanted to bring in, a list of who had to go. Because this is what people misunderstand about Mourinho. His greatest skill is not motivating his stars. It is not his tactical genius, although that is formidable. His greatest skill is identifying exactly what a squad needs and being ruthless enough to remove what is standing in the way. No sentiment, no loyalty to names, no reverence for what a player used to be. Only what the squad needs to become. And what this Real Madrid squad needed, urgently, immediately, without hesitation, was a clear out. The departures. Dani Carvajal, 13 seasons, 451 appearances. One of the most decorated right-backs in the history of the club. A player who won everything there was to win, wearing that white shirt, and who gave his body completely to Real Madrid across more than a decade of service. His departure was confirmed with a farewell ceremony at the Bernabéu before the final home match of the season. The crowd gave him the send-off he deserved, and then the page turned. David Alaba, the Austrian centre-back who arrived from Bayern Munich as a proven winner and spent 5 years in Madrid fighting an injury crisis that refused to relent. He made 132 appearances, a number that should have been double that. But the muscle injuries kept coming and kept coming until there was simply no road back. He leaves on a free transfer, his Madrid chapter defined more by frustration than by the brilliance everyone knew he was capable of. And they are not alone. Goalkeeper Andriy Lunin, gone. Fullbacks Fran Garcia and Ferland Mendy, gone, with Mendy's serious muscle tendon injury making his exit even more straightforward. Midfielder Dani Ceballos, gone, with a return to Real Betis, his most likely destination. Striker Gonzalo Garcia, gone. Eduardo Camavinga, who has attracted serious interest from top Premier League clubs. His future at the club under serious doubt. This is not trimming. This is not the gentle kind of squad refresh where you move on 2 or 3 players and call it a summer of change. Mourinho looked at this Real Madrid squad, identified the players who do not fit his system, his demands, or his vision, and started moving them on without ceremony. Some will call it brutal, others will call it necessary. Mourinho would simply call it the job, because you cannot build something bigger on a foundation that is crumbling. You have to be willing to tear it down first. And Mourinho has never been afraid of that moment, the uncomfortable, painful, necessary moment when you look a dressing room in the eye and say, some of you are not part of what comes next. Now comes the part the entire football world has been watching for. Now comes the construction. Every problem Mourinho identified in that dressing room, every gap, every weakness, every position left exposed by departures, now has a solution being built specifically to address it. The signings are not random, they are surgical. Each one answers a specific question that the previous act raised. This is what it looks like when a great manager is given the resources and the authority to build exactly what he wants. The defense is rebuilt from the ground up. The centre-back position was the most urgent crisis. Alaba gone. Militao's long-term fitness, a genuine concern. Rudiger aging. Mourinho needed a physically dominant, tactically disciplined, elite-level centre-back in his prime. Someone who could organize the backline, communicate with conviction, and handle the pressure of the Bernabéu from the very first match. Ibrahima Konaté, free transfer from Liverpool, contract until 2030. Konaté leaves Anfield after 5 seasons as a Premier League winner, a Champions League finalist, and one of the most physically imposing centre-backs in European football. He is 27 years old. He is at the absolute peak of his powers. He is fast enough to defend the space in behind a high line, strong enough to win every aerial duel, and experienced enough to handle the biggest occasions without flinching. And he signed a contract until 2030, the full backing of incoming manager José Mourinho attached to every clause. He arrives on a free transfer, not a penny paid in transfer fees. The only cost is his wages and the signing bonus. And for a centre-back of this caliber, at this age, with this pedigree, it is an absurdly good piece of business. This is Mourinho's defensive foundation. Everything else is built on top of it. And then there is the right-back vacancy, left by the departure of a legend, Denzel Dumfries. 20 million euros from Inter Milan. No negotiation was required. Real Madrid simply activated Dumfries' 20 million euro release clause, a number that, in the context of the modern transfer market, represents exceptional value for a wing-back of his quality. The Dutch international has spent 3 years at Inter Milan establishing himself as one of the most complete attacking fullbacks in Serie A. A player who provides 7 goals and assists in a season, who covers every blade of grass, who attacks with the energy of a winger and defends with the discipline of a specialist. At Real Madrid, he walks into a right-back competition with Trent Alexander-Arnold, a player who had a difficult debut season in the Spanish capital, hampered by injury and inconsistency. Mourinho now has two legitimate options at right-back: competition, intensity, accountability, exactly the culture he wants to create. The midfield brain returns to Spain. This is the signing nobody saw coming, the signing that was heading somewhere else entirely until Mourinho made a phone call. Bernardo Silva had agreed to leave Manchester City on a free transfer at the end of his contract. He had been lined up to join Atletico Madrid, reportedly ready to sign, the deal practically done. And then Mourinho intervened. A personal call, a direct conversation about what Real Madrid needed, what role Silva would play, and what this project was going to become. Silva listened. Silva changed his mind. And Atletico Madrid were left to find another midfielder. Bernardo Silva, free transfer from Manchester City. 2-year deal, plus option for third. Silva is one of the most technically gifted and tactically intelligent midfielders in European football over the past decade. He presses without the ball with an energy that most forwards cannot match. He creates with the ball with a quality that most playmakers only dream of. He has won the Premier League multiple times. He has carried Portugal through tournaments on his back. He understands positional football at the deepest level, the kind of understanding that makes every player around him better simply by being in the same team. Mourinho plans to pair him with Aurelien Tchouaméni and Federico Valverde in midfield. Think about that combination for a moment. Tchouaméni, the defensive anchor, the destroyer, the player who protects the backline and distributes simply. Valverde, the engine, the all-action midfielder who covers every blade of grass and contributes at both ends. And now Silva, the creative brain, the player who finds the passes others cannot see, who creates space by movement alone. This is a midfield that can control a match, win the ball back quickly, and then immediately find the forward line with quality. But here is the thing about José Mourinho. He is never finished. He never looks at a transfer window and says, it is enough. He looks at what he has, identifies what is still missing, and keeps hunting until every position has the quality it needs. And right now, in the summer of 2026, there are still several significant pieces of this Real Madrid puzzle that remain incomplete. Mourinho has made his priorities clear. He wants two centre-backs. Konaté is one, and a second arrival is being pursued. He wants a right-back competition to push Dumfries and Alexander-Arnold. He wants a left-back, given the departures of Mendy and Fran Garcia, leaving Alvaro Carreras as the only natural option. And he wants two specific midfielders, a defensive midfielder to provide cover for Tchouaméni, and a creative playmaker to complement Silva. The targets. Josko Gvardiol has emerged as one of the most discussed names in connection with this Real Madrid rebuild. The 24-year-old Croatian offers something genuinely rare: the ability to play convincingly at both centre-back and left-back, giving Mourinho flexibility in his defensive shape. He is at the peak of his powers. He is exactly the kind of physically dominant, technically assured defender that Mourinho builds his teams around. The price will be significant. Manchester City will not let him leave easily, but this is a Real Madrid prepared to spend. At right-back, Diogo Dalot of Manchester United and Josh Achampong of Chelsea have been linked as Mourinho seeks a reliable option to rotate with Dumfries and Alexander-Arnold. Dalot is perhaps the more likely given that Mourinho worked with him during his time at Old Trafford. A manager who trusts players he has personally coached is a manager who already knows what he is getting. Dalot understands the demands Mourinho places on fullbacks. He knows how to follow instructions. He knows how to sacrifice attacking instincts when the tactical moment demands it. In midfield, the name generating the most excitement is Rodri. The Manchester City and Spain midfielder, Ballon d'Or winner, one of the finest defensive midfielders in the history of the game, has teased that he will make a decision on his future after the World Cup. His contract situation at City is entering its critical phase. Real Madrid are watching. Mourinho wants him. And if Rodri arrives at the Bernabéu to play alongside Bernardo Silva and Tchouaméni, the midfield Real Madrid would possess would be genuinely extraordinary. And then there is the Galáctico. The signing Florentino Perez promised the membership during his election campaign. A transfer worth more than 150 million euros. A name that has not yet been publicly confirmed, but that is being discussed in boardrooms across Europe. This is Real Madrid reminding the football world that they play by different rules, that when they want someone, truly want them, the money is never the obstacle. The puzzle is not complete, but every piece being placed, every confirmed signing, every advanced negotiation, every target being hunted through the World Cup summer brings this new Real Madrid closer to the finished picture that Mourinho has in his mind. If this video gave you something to think about, smash that like button, subscribe to Football Detailing, and drop your prediction in the comments. Can Mourinho win La Liga and the Champions League in his first season back at Real Madrid? Let the debate begin down there.